Hey there, Saber fans, Shamim here. It is Graflex time once again, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Revenge of the Sith version of the Graflex that Anakin uses in Episode 3. This particular hilt was made by a company called Wonderful Sabers. It is their first saber hilt that they've produced, and I gotta say, for a first hilt, I'm pretty impressed with the quality of the design and of the production. The name of this hilt, very cleverly, is the Low Ground, and it is the first run is currently sold out. This is one of the chrome-plated versions of their first run, which, as I said, is sold out. But a second run is currently accepting pre-orders. Link is below. So if you're interested in owning a very affordable version of the Episode 3 Graflex hilt, the Wonderful Sabers Low Ground version 2 may be the hilt for you. First off, as many of you know, the Revenge of the Sith Graflex is sometimes referred to as a skinny flex or a slim flex, because it is much slimmer and sleeker than a vintage or a replica Graflex flash gun. As many of you know, the flash gun was used as the base to create the lightsaber prop in episodes 4, 5, 7, and 8. And then for episode 3, the prop department machined the Graflex as well as Obi-Wan's lightsaber to just sort of loosely resemble the props seen in later films. And so it is sleeker, it is slimmer, it's chrome-plated, it has some different design elements that you don't see on other versions of the Graflex. But that's par for the course when it comes to lightsaber collecting. So enough of the history of the hilt, let's get to the actual hilt itself. It comes as several pieces. The main top and then the clamp, all of that is one piece as an outer shell. There's an internal black blade holder that you can see visible right here just below the emitter, and that goes all the way through. The control box and the circuit card are another piece. The lower half of the hilt is its own separate piece. There are two pommels. One of them is vented for sound. The other one is static and much more screen accurate for display. Got a cover tech knob. Got a front gold button, a back gold button, and then your bunny ears. This blade holder piece screws on and off, so you can take that off to access the screw to get at the bunny ears and then put it back on. The second run is going to have a slightly more accurate blade emitter and side gold button here on the control box. And I think one of the Wonderful Saber says that these new V2 pieces will be interchangeable with the V1 version. So if you got the V1 version and you want the slightly more accurate greebly pieces, you can exchange those, or you can buy those separately from the second run and just swap them out on your first run here. Internally, the hilt is running a Prism 5.1 soundboard with a royal blue, green, white Tri-Cree XP 2 LED, 18650 lithium-ion battery with an internal recharge port, 3.7 volts. It's a 28mm SM-based speaker, so you get really nice, loud, crisp sound. And then you've got, there were a couple different switch mounting options on this hilt. I opted for both my activation and my auxiliary underneath the circuit card in the control box, because when you have a control box, I think it should function as a control box. So let's just take a look at the hilt. You've got a nice blade plug that sits inside the emitter. I swapped out the retention screw that came here. This button head screw is one that I put in. I got one to match relatively closely to the one that came with the hilt. The one that came with my hilt was a little bit stripped out, and so I didn't feel comfortable using that as blade retention if it was stripped. So I tapped this for 632 and then used a 632 button head screw, which matches pretty nicely to the little greebly that's supposed to go there. I also powder coated this front button and this back button. Originally they came just exposed solid brass like that, and I wanted it to be a little bit more orange colored to make it a bit more screen accurate to what we see on the Master Replicas limited edition prop, which is I once had in my collection. I no longer own, unfortunately. Ian, you have that now. Take care of my baby. But other than that, I haven't done that many other mods. I did a couple mods on the box. I made this little black piece there, right underneath the gold circuit card. That was brass originally, so I painted that black on both sides. And then I've also filled in the lines for the circuit card and made those black. And that was just a really, really easy process to do. I spray painted the whole clamp card black, and then took a paper towel, dabbed a little bit of acetone on there, just wiped right across the surface. It took off all the black on the surface like that. Can't snap with these gloves on. And then left the black inside the recessed grooves. I had to do a lot of clocking on the bottom half to get it to get the what's this called, the cover tech to line up properly, because you know this is the orientation that the prop is supposed to have, and the D-ring, the cover tech knob was a little bit off, and so I had to sand the this female bottom half, sanded about half an hour or so of sanding, just so that it would clock properly, and so that when I tightened it, it would line up perfectly. So I did that, and I'm very happy with how that turned out. And then there is your pommel. It still has the concentric rings that sort of simulate what the static pommel is, but this is of course the vented pommel. Couple additional thoughts on, actually let's light it up, and then I'll share some additional thoughts on the hilt itself. So here we go.
Master Skywalker, there are too many of them. What are we going to do?
See, it's cycling through different shades of blue, getting a bit more green now. So that's for the sickos.
If you're not with me, then you're my enemy.
Bit more of a standard Episode 3 Anakin font now. I totally forgot to remove the other 3 random boot sounds from that font. This is supposed to be Episode 4. And it's supposed to say this is the weapon of a Jedi Knight. Clearly I will be fixing that.
I'm not afraid.
You will be. You will be. You have that power too.
Darn right I do. And finally,
I've seen this raw strength only once before. It didn't scare me enough then. It does now.
a little bit more of a whiter blue. For Episode 8.
Master Skywalker, there are too many of them. What are we going to do?
We are going to take out the blade plug. Come on. Out you slide. There you go. Pop goes the blade plug. It's a 7/8 inch blade. Let's throw that bad boy in there. So let's also show off the chassis that I used. I sort of ghetto rigged the chassis here. Took one of the 1.1 diameter chassis that I have been using on most of my installs. Sanded the front, half inch or so of it, which allowed it to slide up into the main hilt. There's a lip right in there, and so this chassis is slid up there and is held up in there very tightly. I also added just a couple dabs of glue just to keep it there. But there you have very easy access to your SD card and to your recharge port. The battery is up in here in the main part of the hilt. Yeah, so there's that. I believe that specific chassis exist for this hilt, but for purposes of review, I wanted to review this hilt as quickly as I could after I got it and installed it, so I just went with a little bit more of a simple chassis solution than what is officially released for it. So this is the first of several versions of the Episode 3 Graphics that are coming out in the next few weeks and months. This first one, of course, is by Wonderful Sabers. The next one, or I don't know, in no particular order, I don't know when they're going to be released, but I believe the next one coming out is from Ultimate Works / the Pack Store. That one, I'm also on that pre-order, and that one should be coming out within the next couple weeks. Then there's also one by Seven Chambers and JQ Sabers. The two of them, as far as I'm aware, are collaborating and doing their own version of the Episode 3 Anakin hilt. And then beyond that, Corbanth is also distributing the 89 Sabers version of this hilt, which also will be coming out hopefully by the end of this year, if not into early 2019. So after several years of no manufacturer making the Episode 3 version of this hilt, we only had the very, very well machined Ace Rocket orbital machining hilt that came out several years ago and is now very rare and highly sought after. So we sort of had a dark period where there was no good installable version of the Episode 3 Anakin lightsaber. And now fans of the Skinny Flex rejoice because there are 4 separate versions coming out. This is the first one that was released. I will say right off the bat that I don't find it to be one-to-one screen accurate. There are a couple proportion, I don't know if issues is the right word, but just from my own recollection of the Master Replicas limited edition prop that I held in my hand and that I owned for many months, the proportions up here are just a little bit large and long. Some of the proportions about where these screws and these greeblies and these holes and everything are positioned feels a little bit off to me. And then it's just something about this area up here doesn't feel quite right to me personally. But it was I think it was like $250 for the chrome plated version, and it was like low 200s for the non-chrome plated version. So it was a really, really good deal, and a very affordable version of the Episode 3 lightsaber. Yeah, I mean, if one-to-one screen accuracy is not your thing, and you just want a hilt that says, like, look at me, I'm Anakin's lightsaber, this absolutely fits the ticket. If you're looking for something hella screen accurate, or if you're looking for something in which the front gold button and the back gold button could function as switches, as well as inside the control box. I know that the Ultimate Works version that's coming out has 4 different switch options, both of these gold buttons, as well as main and aux within the control box. So that's 4 different switch placement options as well. And before anyone gets in about the whole recasting thing, I've seen, I've seen this prop, and then I've seen the renders for the other three, and they all look to have their own unique tells and their own unique design elements in terms of how parts are machined together, how the internal assembly fits together. And of course, we'll be able to say that a bit more definitively once we get all 4 of them in, because I have all 4 of them on pre-order because I'm weird like that. And I love me some Graflexes. So once I acquire all 4, I will do a nice comparison of all 4 of them together, and so we can see like the pros and cons of each, and hopefully by then there's still some available on each run, and then you can decide which one do I like the best. This one, out of the box, as I said, there were a couple accuracy mods that I had to do. I chose to powder coat the front and gold buttons to make them a bit more orange colored. I had to fill in the black on the circuit card, and I had to fill in the black of that little rectangle on the sides of the control box to make it more screen accurate to what I wanted. And assembling the grips was also a little bit difficult because there was no grip guide. There are no holes, like a Graflex 2.0, for example, the grips have little plugs that, align in with the holes that are pre-drilled around the bottom of the hilt, for example. And this didn't have that. So what I had to do was I had to align one of the grips along with where the CoverTech knob is, because I know that the CoverTech goes in between 2 of the grips evenly. And so you get your, one of them on the side of the CoverTech knob, and then from there you do the one opposite, and then you do, 2 more opposite and 2 more opposite, and try to get it to fit. So if you took a micrometer to these grips, it's not 100% evenly spaced, but it's, it's pretty close. If you look at that, it's close enough. It's decent-ish. Each of the grips line up with the one opposite pretty well. So, but if eyeballing that sort of thing is not your thing, that might prove a bit difficult for you as well. And then also having to, line up, because there's no, you can't put it on the bottom because there has to be a space down here and there has to be a space up here. So aligning the grips was a little bit of a challenge, and so I would like to see on a future run maybe incorporate some sort of grip cutting, or not cutting, but grip assembling guide so that you don't have to eyeball it. So those are a couple of the criticisms that I have for the wonderful Sabers hilt, and I've also shared my suggestions about the coloring and the accuracy mods, and this side button there is a little bit too flat of a profile on this bottom side. It should bulge out and be a little bit more curvy, and he's fixing that for his second run. So he's taken some of my criticisms to heart for his second run, which strokes my ego, which is great. But basically, I just want the most accurate and the best quality product for the community as possible. So it's a great time to be a Skinny Flex fan. We've got 4 different versions coming out. This is the first one from Wonderful Sabers, the Low Ground. I gotta say, even if the hilt itself isn't 1-to-1 screen accurate or the best, that is by far one of the best names for a Saber run I've ever heard. The Low Ground. That's just pure genius. So major props to Wonderful Sabers for that name, and for putting out for their first hilt a really nice chrome plated skinny version of the Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith Anakin Skywalker Graflex lightsaber. Yeah, so that's I think that's all I have to say about it. One other thing I will mention: these pins feel a little flat and stubby and stocky. If you've looked at the Episode 3 pins from Custom Saber Shop, for example, that are used in converting the Master Replicas Force FX lightsabers, those, wow, I say a lot, don't I? Those pins have a little bit of a taller, more pointed profile. These ones feel just stubbier. You take the same proportions, but you just stubby it. So I think that's again part of the what I slightly dislike about the proportions up here at the emitter. I just feel like something is wrong, and the stubby pins might be contributing to that. Again, I don't know. So I don't have the Master Replicas limited edition prop on me anymore. As I said, I've sold it. So if I did have it, I'd be able to do a side-by-side comparison and be like, this is what this is what this is. But of course, it's, you know, some companies decide to take their own artistic liberties on certain hilts, which is totally fine. Not every company needs to make a 1-to-1 scale, you know, screen accurate prop. Some companies prefer to do something, you know, with a little bit more of a twist, or, you know, so that you can look at it and be like, oh yeah, that's totally the Wonderful Sabers version, or that's totally the seven chambers version, so you can be able to tell all of them apart. These grips are plastic, are hard, some kind of hard plastic. They're not rubber. They don't feel like PVC, or they don't feel like polycarbonate. It feels like some kind of hard plastic. And the glue that I used has really held those on nicely. They haven't shown any sign of wobbling or moving around, which is nice. The blade plug is quite beautiful. I really do like that blade plug.
Master Skywalker, there are too many of them. What are we going to do?
It's a really, really lovely blade plug. Anyway, that's been a long video. I apologize for the rant. I think overall I'd give it 7.5, 8 out of 10. Yeah. You will have to drill a hole for LED retention in the internal black blade holder that goes from the emitter down to the bottom of the clamp. Just FYI for all of you do-it-yourself people, you will need to drill that hole. I'm trying to think if there's any other machining or other mods that I had to do. I posted a picture in the Graflex Addict group, and I'll include it in the link below to the full range of pictures that I have of how I did my Switch assembly. It's not quite what Wonderful Sabers intended for a Switch solution, so it's a little bit different, but I'll post pictures of what I did, just so that, again, do-it-yourself people can see what I did for the Switch assembly up there. And I think that's it. I also used a different screw and a different CoverTech knob, because I noticed that the screw and the CoverTech knob that came with it, when you put the screw in, the screw head, it was a socket head screw, and the socket head screw was sticking up out of the CoverTech. And I always like to have the screws recessed below the surface of the CoverTech. Not only so that then I can set it on the table and have it rest on the CoverTech knob without it wobbling around on the exposed screw, but also I don't want that exposed screw to mess with, if I put this in a CoverTech belt clip, I don't want that screw to mess with the inside of the CoverTech belt clip. So I swapped out for I think this is it's a 632 button head screw, so I just tapped the existing hole in the hilt to accept a 632 button head screw, and then put the screw in, and then went in with a Dremel on the inside and made it flush on the inside so that the chassis wasn't hit by the longer 632 screw. Other than that, that's everything I did. I think that's the end of my review. Thank you all so much for watching, and may the Force be with you.